Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the East Central Scotland area, and welcome to World Speech Day 2022. The theme for this year, for this global event, is a new harmony. And when that theme was picked by World Speech Day, I imagine that what was going through people's heads was largely the pandemic, the global pandemic that has affected all of us and has had a huge effect on Speakers Club. Many of you have, for the past couple of years, been meeting over Zoom rather than meeting in person. And it's affected us in lots of other ways. But it can't have escaped anyone's notice that other events in Ukraine have overtaken us and put a new perspective on what a new harmony might mean. And I don't know about you, but it's made my problems and plans and issues seem quite inconsequential to what's happening in Eastern Europe right now. And there's the potential, however important today is for all of us, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful that we get to share in this space, that we can come together again and explore the power of speaking, the power of words, which is something we're all passionate about. But even in that context, what does it matter compared to everything else that's going on in the world? And I was thinking about that this morning when I was looking through Twitter, and I came across Susie Dent's Twitter. Does everyone know Susie Dent?
Yeah.
Yeah, countdown. And she had put up a tweet about a Japanese word, seijaku, which is a moment of tranquility within the chaos. And if we can have that this morning, as we listen to new speakers and experienced speakers talking about subjects that are core to who they are, and they are desperate to share those ideas with all of us, perhaps we can have that moment, even as we continue to give all our thoughts and all our support to the people of Ukraine. I do hope you have a fantastic experience at World Speech Day and the entire East Central Scotland Area Conference. Welcome to World Speech Day 2022. We have 5 speakers this morning from 3 different clubs within our area. And I'd now like to welcome the first speaker, who is Andrew Bell from Kirkcaldy Speakers Club, and he is going to give his speech, Harmony. With his speech, Harmony, can you please welcome Andrew Bell from Kirkcaldy?
Chair, speakers, guests. Harmony. Are you in harmony with yourself and life? Because when you are, you have an inner peace and an outer sparkle. You sparkle as a person. Now, what was the first thing you did in your life ever? You gasped in air, and then you cried. And then you gasped and cried again. This crying was a great relief to your mum, as it signaled your safe arrival into this world. You were making your audible impression on the world, imposing yourself on life. Now, crying is the first thing you do with your voice, which develops into speech. Myself, I cannot speak, but you cannot speak. It's your voice that speaks for you. Your voice is your vocal signature in life. Your voice is your best friend in life. It speaks up for you. It protects you. It promotes your ideas, ideals, and beliefs as they evolve throughout your life. in the early part of life, you experience disappointments and setbacks. And also you're told, don't make such a noise now, come on. Just stop speaking. I can hardly hear myself think, come on. The combination of these factors lower your self-esteem and self-importance, which diminishes your voice sound for use in speech. Now, a diminished voice sound is less capable of portraying the real true you to the world. So other people have a diminished opinion of you as a person. But a confident voice changes everything. How? Why? Because your vocal cords are much more active and alive. And they stimulate your vagus nerve as it comes through your throat on its journey from the crown of your head to the pit of your stomach. Your vagus nerve is responsible for your moods and how you feel, sad, depressed. Now, with a confident voice, you're much less prone to stress, anxiety, worry, and fear. As the sound of your voice lifts your spirits and makes your heart sing. It's like flying in an aeroplane over a city at night. You look down at the twinkling street lights below, and within these streets, people are hustling and bustling around doing whatever they're doing. But they're stressed, they're anxious, they're worried, they're concerned. But you are operating your life on a higher plane, in a higher level. You feel safe and secure. You have an inner peace. Mentally, you're happy, smiling, laughing, and sparkling. Now, when did you last waken up in the morning and think, I'm really going to sparkle today? Because when you sparkle, you can live a life beyond your imagination when you're in harmony with yourself and life.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for taking part today, Andrew. Congratulations on your speech. Our next speaker in World Speech Day 2022 is Fiona Haig from Denny Speakers Club with her speech, Changing Times. With Changing Times, can you please welcome Fiona Haig from Denny?
Chair, fellow speakers, guests. I'm 8 years old and I make a beeline for the back of the shop because in those heavy old cabinets in the drawer second from the bottom is the treasure I seek. Scraps. Little printed paper cutouts with pictures of cherubs and flowers that you would make an 8-year-old girl delighted to hand over her pocket money for. And then you would take them home and glue them into your brightly coloured book, and everything in the world would be amazing. On a really good day within that drawer, you would also get Dress a Doll, where your little cardboard cutout lady had a little dress with little flaps on the top, and you could put her wee dress on, take it off, put her other wee dress on, until you bent her leg up and she had a broken ankle forever. This shop was Matthie's, a real treasure chest in our little town. Mr. and Mrs. Matthie and their assistant worked very hard. In their little shop, with their huge stock, there wasn't a surface to be seen. And they sold everything you would ever need and loads of things that you would never even know existed. They sold door handles and light bulbs, Airfix models and school bags, socks and teapots, and while the shop always looked like chaos, someone always knew where everything was. And if you were really lucky, it was the person who was serving you. For everything that Matthys didn't sell, the town was well served by other small family businesses. We had Kirk's the butcher, McKnight the greengrocer, and Gillespie the cobbler and shoe shop. There were several bakers and a lovely gift shop for a card or a wee minding, and the electrical shop for all your bigger goods and your small electrical radios and toasters and things. And the co-op was there to fill in any gaps, taking up several storefronts, because there wasn't just one co-op, you had the grocery and the drapery and the off-licence, and the server would ask after your mother or brother, as these shops kept our neighbours and families and jobs. This kept our small town abuzz, because there was no real reason to venture any further to get anything you ever needed. But I still remember the excitement as Tesco brought its first shop to the big town, and off we traipsed on the bus to go and see what they had to offer, with their promises of smaller prices, bigger selection, and just something a little bit different. And when we packed back on the bus, we were so wide with carrier bags that we could hardly fit up the aisle. What do we have now? The supermarkets have it all wrapped up. You can pick up a new coat along with your loaf of bread and bottle of wine, and even a new kettle. And you can do this at any time of day, including the middle of the night. And you know, the greengrocer's was always shut when you came home from work anyway, so this is really handy. What about Amazon? Click, click, swipe, and still with your slippers on and your cup of coffee in hand, you can have exactly what you need from an eye-watering selection of items. And you can have it today. Well, you can certainly have it tomorrow, and depending on what you choose, you can possibly even have it today. For us as individuals, it is absolutely fabulous. And there's no chance of nosy Nora asking about your mother while you're cooked and you're shopping, because it's all very impersonal. But for our communities, it is devastating. Have you noticed rising unemployment, empty high streets? Amazon, we have to hand it to them, they're such an efficient machine. It's operated from huge warehouses with relatively small numbers of staff and even less management positions. So while Jeff Bezos, Amazon's founder, rakes in his money and goes and spends it on a yacht so large that they're going to have to dismantle the bridge to get it out of Rotterdam, all at his expense, no problem to a man of his means. I kind of liked it when the super wealthy invested in art and causes, or like Dolly Parton set up a movement so that all the children could have books. Super no, yachts don't excite me that much. While these humongous businesses provide us with the convenience of plenty of parking spaces, long opening hours, and everything we need under one roof, of no need to leave the house, why not buy this too? It's okay, I remember your credit card, I'll make it super easy for you, and you'll have your quick, reliable delivery. Our communities are losing vital jobs and reasons for people to visit or stay. So, this great convenience for us as individuals and the great devastation to our communities, are we willing as individuals to sacrifice that convenience for the sake of our community?
Thank you for your presentation and your participation, Fiona, and congratulations on your speech. Our next speaker is Ewan Irvin from Edinburgh Speakers Club with his speech, The Spiritual Self. With his speech, The Spiritual Self, will you please welcome Ewan Irvin from Edinburgh.
Chair, speakers, guests. Throughout history, we have struggled to understand and to solve many of life's mysteries. We try to comprehend the expanse of the universe. Is there an end to the universe? And if so, at that end, what lies beyond? Is there life after death? Is there other life in the universe? We struggle to find answers, regardless of our depth of knowledge, our education, literacy, even our grasp of the mystical. We come to try to comprehend the mysteries in ourselves. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? These could be considered as our spiritual needs to nourish a spiritual self in order to achieve a centered harmony within each and every one of us. Throughout history, we have tried to come to terms with our inner selves, and something inside humans drove us at the same time to explore our spirit and who we are. Anthropologists and archaeologists have shown that even in early civilization, we began to discover our spiritual identity. They created art and paintings of hunters, of spirits, intending to cast a spell over their prey. That was those early civilizations, their spiritual identity. And then through ancient Greece, stories emerged of gods, of goddesses, of love and war, and of human triumph and failure. But these form the spiritual stories of old, where we take tradition, sayings, wisdom, and even prophecy. But time moves on. We are in a modern age, a time where technology makes the world a much smaller place. Social media and politics continue to shape and change the world each day. We live in an age where individuals can experience life through travel that would have been unheard of many centuries ago. But those sacred spiritual places of old can be travelled to easily, not in weeks or months, but in hours. People can experience for themselves the footsteps early civilizations took. And for many, this can be that spiritual experience. And yet, in this new dawn of imminent space travel, one can only wonder the experience of seeing planet Earth from space itself, and the knowledge that somewhere down there, billions and billions of people are taking their own journey of life. To go forward in this 21st century, our human horizons are broadening, but we can remember the journey our ancestors took. They were open to experiencing the sacred. They connected with the land, the sea, the sky, on a deeper level, constantly questioning the past, the present, and the future. And we will continually question like our ancestors, but technology brings us that ability to explore the spiritual self. Online meditations, holistic approaches, training, mindfulness, learning, connecting with other cultures and places. And we can nourish that light within ourselves and in our own learning so that light grows brighter. Our collective spiritual identity is formed through our society and our beliefs, our culture and our upbringing. We see suffering and we respond. We see dark and we try to bring light to that suffering. We see global disasters through television and online, and many respond through help and through aid. That is our spiritual response. That is our spiritual self. In those days of global conflict, global warming and disasters, may we look at a new horizon through the words of English actor, filmmaker and entrepreneur Richard Attenborough, who said, "There is a light in this world, a healing spirit more powerful than any darkness we may encounter. We sometimes lose sight of this force when there is suffering and too much pain. Then suddenly the spirit will emerge through the lives of ordinary people who hear that call and answer in extraordinary ways. We know that spiritual understanding, more powerful than any darkness, has allowed our ancestors to survive, humans to evolve, and in the millenniums to come, perhaps, just perhaps, even Earth will be a distant, sacred place as we evolve on another planet in a galaxy far away. As those millenniums occur, how many new dawns are on that horizon to feed the spiritual self? In that new dawn, hopefully, each of us will sing at the same time, even with different notes, but create a simple melody in a complex harmony that is life.
Thank you for your presentation and your participation today, Ewan, and congratulations on your speech. Our fourth speaker for World Speech Day 2022 is Susan Cohen from Edinburgh with her speech, A New Harmony, It's All About You. With A New Harmony, It's All About You, will you please welcome Susan Cohen from Edinburgh?
Chairman, speakers, guests, friends. It's so good to be here. And to have the opportunity to speak to you about a new harmony. It all starts with us. It all starts with you. Because whenever I think about the word harmony, I think about a choir. All different shapes and sizes and ages and nationalities, all singing together in one tune. And with all that's happening in the world right now, it's so tempting to launch into a heartfelt appeal about everybody just putting country boundaries to one side and linking arms and singing off the same hymn sheet. That'd be amazing. There is no way I'm doing that. No chance. It's chaos out there. And it's heartbreaking out there. But also it's wonderful out there. And the thing about the world is it's always been chaotic. It is the nature of the beast. We have never lived in an age where everything is wonderful, people are madly in love, and the sky is always blue, and the birds are always singing. Never in my lifetime or in anybody's lifetime has that ever happened. So if we try to find harmony in our environment, somewhere out there, wherever there is, I think we're going to be sadly disappointed. Things will always happen around us. And some of it will be the stuff of harmonious happiness, but some of it far from it. So where do we find this thing called harmony then? This balance, this coming together of all parts, functioning smoothly, with all the good feelings that should generate. Where do we find that? My belief is that we should start with ourselves. Start to look within. Harmony, I believe, is largely, although not exclusively, an individual thing. The thing is, unless we get caught up in tragic circumstances, and we know certainly people are at the moment, it's often not what happens in our world that governs our inner harmony. It's how we react to what happens. So much of life begins and ends with us. So who are we? Who is this us? I'd like to do a wee experiment, and I can't claim that it's my own. I filched it from someone else. Wayne Dyer, who I love and I miss, he actually did a wee experiment at a talk of his. I want you to take your index finger, and I would like you just to point to yourselves. Now I'd like you to look around the room and see where you're all pointing. We are all pointing to our hearts. Or our throats. Yeah, or maybe your mouth. Yeah. Food. We had somebody the other night who pointed to his head. That really threw me. But most of us are pointing to our hearts. Physically and emotionally, this is where we begin and end. So maybe we should aim for harmony to live within our hearts. But how do we do that? That's the million-dollar question, because no heart is the same. But one thing is for certain. The important thing is to start the process of trying to find harmony, trying to discover what could bring you closer to the experience of harmony within your heart. Now, this is not an easy business. Benjamin Franklin said there are 3 things extremely hard: steal, a diamond, and to know oneself. But self-knowledge, it's so important. For many, not all, but for many, there may be a lot of truth to be found in the process of self-reflection, self-examination, of looking within. You do have to deal with the stuff of life. You've got to have food in the fridge, you've got to make sure the roof's not leaking. I can't even mention my mother's chimney. You know, all those things that we have to do, to walk the dog this morning. You have to keep the wheels on. You do. But stopping that busyness of life long enough to ask life's big questions, it could be important. It's certainly worth a try. And if you find it really hard, there are always people out there to help. It's become a little part of my working life on a pay-it-forward basis to sit with people who wrestle with the big questions of life. Why are we here? What is our purpose? How can we tend to our own minds to give us peace when things around us are not always peaceful? And how can we contribute to society in a meaningful way? Once we start to sit with questions like that, like those, I've got those, it's not that, I've got written down those, to take time over them, either alone or with someone else, that's, I think, when we can start to see little glimmers of the holy grail of inner harmony. Because it's often not found out there. It is found in here. And maybe, if if everyone took a wee bit of time out to tend to their own hearts, things might just start to change in the world, even just a wee bit. For the process of trying to develop an inner harmony brings with it a degree of tranquility that affects not just yourself, but everyone and everything around you. It's like throwing a small pebble into a smooth pond. The ripple effect expands in concentric circles. And much more importantly, I'd be able to do much easier talk. I would be able to talk about that choir. The choir of all different shapes and sizes and nationalities and ages that would all sing together in perfect harmony. But a choir is not one homogeneous whole. A choir is made up of many voices. But once each singer starts to find their own inner harmony, that's when the choir can really start to sing.
Thank you, Susan, for your presentation, your participation today, and congratulations on your speech. Our final speaker of this World Speech Day event 2022 as part of the East Central Scotland ASC conference is Alistair Graham from Denny Speakers Club with his speech, Don't Look Back in Anger. So with Don't Look Back in Anger, for the final time, can you please welcome Alistair Graham from Denny?
Chair, speakers and guests. To paraphrase the pop group Oasis, don't look back in anger. But sadly, many people have been doing exactly that for years, looking back in anger. Today, I shall speak of the folly of such an outlook before talking about the most important issue presently facing us all. For centuries, countries and religions have gone to war with each other to right the wrongs of the past. And nowadays, it's fashionable within this country for the sins of the past to be confessed and corrected. Confession has become an obsession, whether with regard to the pernicious activities of the slave traders or the burning at the stake of defenceless women accused of witchcraft. Futile attempts at restitution, such as pulling down statues, removing freedom of speech through the cancel culture, or insisting on quotas based on colour, gender or creed, are misguided and are diverting attention from much more serious matters. So it's now time to stop the navel-gazing and to wake up to the real problems facing our civilization. The past is past and cannot be changed. The present is fleeting and, frighteningly, has just spiralled out of control. Only the future can be shaped. So don't look back in anger. Look ahead instead. But when you do look ahead, don't look away, alarming though it may be. We have all seen the news. The sleeping bear in the east is on the rampage. It is not obsessed with trivia, such as the use of pronouns. It looks on our Western decadence with disdain. It is now destroying its neighbour, a peaceful population like ourselves, whose misfortune is to live next door to the bear. While we seek a return to normality for our school children, Ukrainian children can no longer attend school. While we debate about returning to work or working from home, Ukrainians are being forced to abandon their homes and all that they have worked for. While we complain at the rocketing cost of heating our homes, Ukrainians are dying as rockets obliterate their homes. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning to the sound of air raid sirens, the sun blotted out with dirty black smoke, and bombs bringing landmarks crashing down to earth. What we're facing now is another Adolf Hitler, only this time armed with nuclear weapons. So we must wake up from our Western complacency. We all need to make our voices heard now. So all of you, go onto social media and protest against this crime against humanity. Go on protest marches to rail against those who will lead us to Armageddon. Respond to appeals for help for Ukraine, and do whatever you can. Indignation at the barbarity of Putin must become a worldwide phenomenon, and it must endure until he is gone. The people of the world, including many Russians, do not want war. We all want peace and the elusive goal of worldwide harmony. Oasis sang that Sally can wait, but the world can no longer wait. We must come together now. They sang that Sally knows it's too late, but it's not yet too late. We can all play our part in salvaging some good from this evil. So make your voice heard today for a better harmony.
Thank you, Alistair, for your presentation and your participation today. Congratulations on your speech. Everyone, that brings to a close the speaking programme for this World Speech Day event 2022 at the East Central Scotland Area Conference. The Association of Speakers Clubs is a broad family of people across the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, and even starting to reach beyond those borders as well. We have a range of people in our organisation and a range of opinions on very, very complex issues. You might agree with what the speakers have said, you might not. But what better place, what better arena, what better forum to express these opinions and share them under the theme of a new harmony, because that is the only way that we can possibly reach that potentially unattainable goal, by speaking to each other, by listening to each other, patiently and with kindness. One of the sort of famous motivational speakers in history once said that you can get away with anything in a speech as long as you display enthusiasm, vitality, and sincerity. Have we not had that this morning in buckets? Congratulations to the speakers. And keep in mind, we have different types of members. We have speakers who have won competitions, and we have speakers right at the beginning of their journey. We have speakers who are overcoming anxiousness, nervousness, fear, and we have speakers who are genuinely comfortable speaking to the world. Congratulations to you all. Because it's not easy. Doing this, standing here, speaking, saying, this is me. This is what I believe. Please tell me I am not alone. You are not alone. Across the world, across Europe, across the Association of Speakers Clubs, and across this room, you are not alone. perhaps the only positive to come out of the pandemic, especially for the Association of Speakers Clubs, is that, like never before, we have become a more connected community. We have become, because we have had to reach out beyond our clubs, a family. And just taking my nod from the speakers today, at whatever scale you decide to pursue this, and in whatever way, let that be our goal, to increase the connections and the kindness between us all.